just put this together in the last few days for you. So I hope you enjoy it. And here we go.
Hi, everyone. Remember to pack your swimsuits. As you can see by the skylights, Seven Springs has an indoor pool. Some of our districts have reported doing trips and tours. The Parkland Garden Club did a field trip to the Woods Hydrangea and Peony Farm, and they're having lunch at the Buckeye Tavern after visiting. The picture on the right is the Wilkenweir is a 197-acre nonprofit arboretum garden mansion and conservation area. It is open to the public daily without a charge. In District 5, they traveled to the mansions and gardens and museums and colleges of Philadelphia. 4 days of charming history of times and places that have been of much interest and culture. The next picture is all the people they had on the tour. Normally this would be a 1-day tour, and then it turned into a 2-day tour, and now they're working on a 4-day tour. Picture on the right is also of District 4. It's the Standing Stone Garden Club touring the Discovery Garden in Hollidaysburg in August. There are 7 outdoor themed gardens that provide education about flowering and non-flowering plants. The Garden Club of Johnstown toured Penguins Court and Thomas Road Farm in Ligonier, Pennsylvania. They were awed by the 3,700 square feet of greenhouse and native plants and the 7,000 square foot conservancy. The lower picture shows the Garden Club of Johnstown visiting a nursery in Martinsburg, Pennsylvania. This is where Darlene Wissinger was given a lovely appreciation gift for her service to their club for serving as president the past 2 years. The picture on the right is the Somerset Garden Club, and we took a trip to the Buffalo Walk in Buffalo, New York. We stayed at Niagara Falls and commuted in to see the gardens for 2 days. They are running this walk again this year. It's a Saturday and Sunday, July 29 and 30, and it's open from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. It is considered the America's largest garden tour. It is self-guided and there are no tickets required. 300 plus gardens. You can visit gardenwalkbuffalo.com for more information. Our tours from District 11. The first one is the outdoor gardeners visiting the master gardener, Tom Mrazek's meadow garden filled with perennials and wildflowers to attract pollinating birds and insects. The second picture is Graham Park. It is a 42-acre historic park featuring the Keith House. It's the only surviving residence of a colonial Pennsylvania governor. This mansion has remained virtually intact since the late 18th century. So as you can see, it is not hard or difficult to plan a day trip or even a 2-day trip. So I was asked back in the fall of 2020 by one of my appointed members if she could organize a trip. And I said, what do I have to do? And she said, nothing. I said, well, of course you can. So in doing that, she did contact a travel agency in January of 2021. So a tour like one you're about to see does take a lot of planning, and you just need to be patient with the travel agencies and make sure they know your budget and your time frame. So as you can see, this trip is called the Garden Club Federation of Pennsylvania, Holland and Belgium Springtime River Cruise. And we were escorted by George Weigel. George does do a lot of these tours for Colette, which is the company we used. This is the morning of April 20th at 6:30 a.m. with the sun rising. Our ship was called the Amadeus Brilliant. As you can see the picture in the bottom left-hand corner. And some of these pictures that you will be looking at are not all of mine. Some came from Vina McLeod Rudolph and some from Judy Warren. So I'd just like to thank them for some of those pictures. Through these pictures, you will be seeing pictures from the Keukenhof, which is a bulb show that is run in Amsterdam for 8 weeks. The Floriade, which is just a fantastic wonder as to how they can take a marshland and develop it into a functioning community. And the windmills, and also a little cheese tour. As we were driving on a bus to the Keukenhof, they were talking to us about the homes. If you notice in the picture on the left, the house furthest to the right has a little lean to it. Because they are below sea level and the houses are so heavy, they do lean. They do not fix them right away until the lean becomes too prominent and it's affecting the house beside it. But that is why they are so tight together, is so that when one does start to lean, the other one normally will support it. The picture on the right shows the post that comes out of the top. The stairways are so narrow inside of these buildings that they cannot move furniture in and out. They actually have pulley systems that hook onto those posts. And then as you can see in the windows, the hinges, they open up the windows, and that's how they move all of their furniture in and out of their homes. These are just a few pictures on our way to the Keukenhof. The Keukenhof is acres upon acres of tulips. And as you will see a few of our pictures, it is open for 8 weeks. And we did incorporate it because we were going over for the Floriade. As you can see, we stopped at a cheese maker and they demonstrated their ways of using cheese. All of the cheese on the shelves in the background are fresh cheese, so it is unpasteurized, which was not able to be brought back into the United States. Once we went through the demonstration and walked through their cooling areas and their racks, we did end up in an area where you could buy wines and cheese and crackers and things like that. They did have pasteurized cheese there that we were able to bring home with us. This was just something fun that we added. My friend Martha and I worked for an exchange program, and Tico in the background was one of her exchange students just 2 years ago. So while we were there, we were able to have him and his mom, Anya, come visit us, and we spent the entire afternoon having lunch and just having drinks. While we were doing that, another tour that was being offered was the Arnhem, which is an airborne museum, which was totally outside. And so here are just a few pictures of the outdoor sculptures. I was surprised to find that all the towns have a town square, and you must walk through these little alleyways and find your way through in order to get to the centers. And here is a wall of beer. We were in Antwerp, which is the diamond capital of the world. Unfortunately, the shops were all closed that day, but it was kind of interesting to hear the culture and how the diamonds were brought in. The picture on the very right is actually a little walkway, and it was a cafe. So you can just come and sit down at those little tables, and then they make your food inside of their little home and they bring it right back out to you. Here is the Antwerp Central, which is the railway station. It was built in 1836 and contains 4 levels. It's just a masterpiece on the inside when you actually get in and start looking at it. Next, we're going to look at the windmills. So there's a song, Cat in the Cradle. Well, there's actually an old folklore from the flood of 1421, where over 10,000 people drowned. The following day, an infant girl was found drifting in a crib. The baby had remained afloat by the tireless efforts of a cat jumping back and forth to keep the cradle balanced. The story became a Dutch family fairy tale. And here is the sculpture they have in their marsh to remember it. This area is called the Kinderdijk, meaning children's dike. So here are pictures of the actual windmills. The windmills cannot be too heavy because the land was built on top of the water. So you're not allowed to drive there. You can only get to each of the windmills by walking or by bicycle. And you must be a miller to live in them. Most of the millers are doctors and lawyers and professional people. They can only have the blades moving when somebody is home to tend to it. The blades and the sails can be adjusted to catch the wind, or the sails can be brought in case of high winds. And here we are at the Floriade. This was a marshland, and they come in and they bring all the soil in and they rise it up over the water and they build on it, and they build a town, and they have its own town square. So after the Floriade is over, they are able to sell off all the parcels of property and take some of the bigger buildings and make them into apartments. And they have actually developed a brand new community. So here is the map of the entire area that they have built. This tour is put on every 10 years. It takes them 2 years of looking through bids to find the next location. And then they work on the areas until they're ready. We were there in April, and all of the areas had not been built yet. But here are some fantastic shots of waterways and greenhouses, and just everything you see here was put in place for this tour. The picture on the right shows a college. Now the college will stay there. And as you can see, they have solar panels the whole way down on the left side of that building. They have just rows and rows of flowers and trees and shrubs. And the yellow buildings is the offices right now that will be converted into apartment buildings. As you can see, the picture on the right says Bangladesh. There were several countries represented, and they have come in and built a structure, whether it's a teaching structure, an eating structure, or just something that has information about their country. Once this is over, those countries will come back and take all of their things off of that lot, and those will be the lots for sale for people to buy and put their own housing on. Next, we're going to the Norduster Canal. This is a bulb farm, and they have 3 different farms. He does tulips, he does daffodils, and he does hyacinths. What they do is they grow the bulbs, and then they walk those lines and they pull out anything that does not conform to their standard for their bulbs. As you can see by the size of the people compared to the tulips, it's just a phenomenal thing to see. It is educational. They do have everything marked as to what they are. So if you like that tulip, it is the Banjaluka, and then you would know what to order. The picture on the left shows the owner's grandson. He had the day off from school and he helped us on the tour. On the right shows the vats that they store their bulbs in until they're ready to be packaged and sold. One thing to note about their economy is that at the age of 66 and 4 months, which was the 2022 total years, you're mandatorily retired, which means if you own the bulb farm, you must give it to your son. You can work on the farm and still make a little bit of money, but you must retire. And every year that age can change. So we were in Amsterdam for King's Day, April 27th. This is a day where everything shuts down, all the shops shut down, street vendors come out, and everybody drinks and parties all day long for the King's birthday. We were in the Floriade, so we were at the German house, It is customary to wear orange. So I have my orange on, my beer, and then my meal for the day. When we got back to Amsterdam, this is what was going on. It was just a huge, incredible party. There were boats and ships, music, people dancing on the boats. There was litter everywhere. And the next morning, we left to come to the Alzheimer. It's a big walk. And you walk all the way around. This shows all the different processes that the warehouse has. These are the and better then they look at the colors. This was a prior. This is one of my favorite pictures. Look at the racks upon racks. You have 2, 4, 6, 8, and it spans the whole way down through. I think the numbers go up into the hundreds for the entire warehouse. So one of the last things we've done on our trip is we ended up in a small park system. It was Wortham Park. And you're in the middle of Amsterdam, you round a corner and boom, there's an entrance. And this is just tucked in the middle of what looks like a city block. And they had tulips, they had wild areas, they had sitting areas in the grass. They had a greenhouse that had tropical plants in it. And then they had this, which is a butterfly house. So this video is kind of ending my videos. Okay, so the next tour that Pennsylvania was promoting is also through the Loeys group. George Weigel is going with them to Portugal and the islands. This is not a Pennsylvania trip. This is just something that they promoted because we had gone on the Netherlands trip. But it does seem pretty reasonable. And they still, if you're interested, you can still contact them about going. George is a fantastic speaker. He has blogs. He used to be in Central Pennsylvania and he has YouTube videos out. He's just a delight to actually sit down and listen to. The next Pennsylvania sponsored tour is going to be the Buga 23. This is the German national show and it's going to be held in Mannheim. And it's April through October. We're looking at maybe organizing this for the fall. And once again, my travel person in Pennsylvania, Sharon Richardson, is working with the tour group. And this had started back when they had bombed areas, and they would go in and they would revitalize the bombed area. And then they would have a tour to help bring people and money back into the area. This is where I'm going to end the recording. But just some more facts about the Alzheimer flower auction is that it is the largest flower auction in the world. And it has the largest footprint covering 518,000 square meters, which is about 128 acres.
Okay, that concludes my video of the tour. and I'm hoping you all have some questions. When you're planning a trip, especially overseas, you just need to make sure that you truly have an understanding of what people want to see, the price, how many days they want to go through. And then once you have all that information and you know about where you want to go, that's when you would contact your travel agent, and they will get you. We use the Loews group out of the Harrisburg, Philadelphia area, and they actually partner with Colette in Europe, and they set up the actual tours and do everything on that end. So you truly just need to do your research before you even approach, and maybe find some tours that are already being offered that you can either customize, add a new tour with that group, or even just hop on something that was already finished.
And Sheila, can you please tell everybody, is that LOWEES, and where are they? Where can you find them? Where are they? Or do we just Google it?
It was on the one slide I had about the Portugal trip. It is LOWEES, and I know it's Chrissy Kelly is the girl's name that we deal with. I can find that information and get that out to everyone.
And would you say that how you organized that, did you ask your members for feedback? Or, for example, how long ago did you start the process when you decided to offer this tour? How many months, or was it a year? Or
Sharon approached me in the fall of 2020, or I'm sorry, the fall of 2020. And the main focus for us was going to the Floriade. And if you're going to spend all the money to go overseas with your passports and everything else that you need, we decided to do it in the spring when we can incorporate the Keukenhof with the tulips. So the Floriade is open from April through October. Floriade, or the Keukenhof, was only open those 8 weeks. So that kind of put our time frame into those first 8 weeks to do both. And so that we talked about going to the Floriade. Sharon contacted the travel agent, Chrissy Kelly, in January of 2021. And then the following September of 2021 is when we actually had in hand for registration. So Sharon worked with the Loews group in all the extra little side tours that we would want to do.
And did you have a committee? You mentioned a few people. Was it official committee? And were you getting feedback from individuals to say, oh, yes, let's go to Antwerp? And you had Bruges, and people should know that Bruges is in Belgium. So right. Was the boat going there anyhow? Because the boat traveled only the waterways, correct? You were only defined by the waterways of your choices, correct?
Correct. Yes. The cruise was a basic
I can't hear what
cruise
she's saying.
that we added some of our own stops to. There was not a committee. Sharon has traveled many times to different things across the world. And like I said, it was just incorporating the Floriade with the Keukenhof. Those were the two major things. The boat, we had 123 people on our boat. 55 of us was from the Pennsylvania group. And so we did some of our own tours that the other groups did not go on. There were 3 other groups on the boat with us. So Sharon primarily worked with the Loews group to see what would fit in Colette's touring program that they already had set up for other people. It was the canal system, and the canal workers were on strike, of course. So we were stuck on the boat in the waterways waiting. They only opened the channels every so many hours. So we did kind of lose maybe a tour or two. It wasn't major, but it was just enough that it did put us behind a little bit.
And could you share, because you did not say this, and of course I asked you yesterday, it was a 10-day tour, 9 nights, 10 days, and included airfare. Is that correct? Or am I?
It was 12 days.
12 days.
Yes.
And could you tell everybody what the total package was for the number of stops that you had for your group?
If you did the lowest level on the ship, it was about $4,800 or $4,900. Middle staterooms were right at $5,200, $5,500. And then if you were in the upper staterooms, it was right at $6,200.
And that included airfare, right?
It included airfare, most of the meals. The way the system worked was you'd get up in the morning, they would bus you to a tour. The ship would then move from one port to another port, and then the bus would take you back for lunch in a different port. And then that's where your afternoon tour was, in this new port. So we got to see literally 2 tours every day of different areas, and that's how we got to see so much.
Well, it sounds like it was an amazing trip. What I really enjoyed is that Sheila incorporated some of her districts and showed what their local spots were. I think that all of us, I think one of the things you wanted to stress was the secret sauce of even your garden club, how valuable it is in terms of member retention to book a tour or two every year, right? Didn't you tell me that that was a big thing, that you felt that if your club at least did a few tours every year, that was a good retention approach?
I think so. We're just trying to keep everyone engaged. And when people see you having fun, they want to have fun with you. So that's an attraction for new members. But if you have your members and you're not doing anything, the more little trips and tours that you can add into your schedule, it's keeping your current membership engaged, so they're not looking to do something else with their time. So yeah, that's kind of been my little side thing, is if people see you having fun, they want to come have fun with you. And that's why I think these tours and things like this are so important.
That was great. I'm looking